The US dollar is collapsing in real time, and this is the largest drop we've seen since November 2022, which was back here, and this marked the bottom for Bitcoin's bear market. And that is what we're kind of struggling with right now. US dollar going down, which is typically a great sign for cryptocurrency. But the problem right now, cryptocurrency, e.g., Bitcoin, because that's the coin that we really need to talk about because that controls the market, and then we'll get altcoin action. But that's the biggest problem we're having right now. USD dollars going down. Bitcoin is kind of going down, kind of staying the same right now, about $84,000. And it's driving us a lot to not know what to do. Because again, I'll show you this. This is the CMC index, which calculates the fear and greed. And we're seeing extreme fear. Weak hands are getting shaken out. And the fear we're seeing today is levels of August 2023, which marked the bottom before we went on an absolute tear. And again, I'm not telling you guys what to do in this video, but I'm going to talk about why a lot of people are going to mess this cryptocurrency cycle up. And I really want to bring some, not hopium, but like some stuff that I think is going to happen. There's kind of three outlines that we're going to talk about. But to me, can it get much worse that we've had in the last 2 months? I would argue not. And I think there's great things coming, but we have to talk about all scenarios because if we don't, we can't just drown out the potential of, hey, is the bull market over? And that's why a lot of people are feeling right now, and I see it. And I'm here to kind of share some thoughts. So if we look at major capitulation effects, this is usually short-term hodlers or panic selling, e.g. these guys get absolutely wrecked till there's no sellers left. And that's traditionally when Bitcoin turns around. And then obviously our altcoins is what most of us are here for, or have a percentage of our portfolio in the game. That's where we start to go. Now, here's what I like, but it's also some good and bad news. We spoke about this many times. I'm going to keep this on my chart. You can get it installed if you want. Just go indicators and then just type in the 50 MA. And this is this yellow line right here. So typically what happens in a bull run, especially for cryptocurrency, is as long as we stay above this little yellow line, which is a 50-week moving average, we are still plain sailing. Now, you might say, well, we've had some wicks here in September and we've had some wicks in August of 2024, but we didn't close. Remember, this is on the weekly. Now, what would happen and what I'm really looking at going forward to really ultimately tell you what I'm going to do in my portfolio is if we get 2 to 3 weeks below the yellow 50-week moving average, I am probably going to sell 50% of my bag. And a lot of people are not going to like to see this because I'm one of the guys telling you to hodl on. But traditionally, what we've seen is if we cross this and we close. Now, remember, we can wick it and we can close for a couple of weeks. But if we really close back par 2 weeks on this weekly candle below the 50 MA, we have to come to reality and it might be time to pack up shop. At least that's what I'm going to do with some of my portfolio because, again, you have to look out for yourself in this cryptocurrency market. It's so hard to talk positive about, all the good news that is happening in the market, but ultimately you just get wrecked because, the price is going down. So it doesn't really matter. What really matters right now is this 50-week moving average. And it's something we're going to be talking about on this channel, on this video and on future videos, because I think it's the most important thing combined with the 4-year cycle. But the 4-year cycle gets invalidated if we break this and close for maybe 2 to 3 weeks maximum. And then it's time to have a harsh look in the mirror and say, hey, maybe it is time to close up shop. Now, like I said, this line is typically when we know it's still game on or pack up shop. Now, it is still game on right now. I will tell you that because we have crossed it a couple of times and we've wicked back above it. And obviously after that, we've had Bitcoin literally double in price. So again, this could be a great thing, right? It could be buying opportunities of a lifetime. But if we close it, that is when we need to talk about the harsh reality. And we're going to come to that when we come to that, if we come to that. Now, the caveat of that is if we trade above this, e.g. what we are right now, this would typically be the best time and the best risk/reward for you to add up on whatever positions, whatever altcoins you're buying. I wouldn't top up this shit, in my opinion, because those coins typically are just random. But if you have solid altcoins and you have solid Bitcoin and Ethereum, Solanas, HBAR, XRP, you guys choose your poison. You guys already know what I'm holding. That would typically be the best risk/reward because, if we do bounce above it like we have done in every single 4-year cycle, that would be the cheapest price that you're going to get every single coin for the next phase of this bull market. But again, there's a caveat to that because it could be the best opportunity of a lifetime to buy before we go again, or it could be the worst opportunity to buy and then ultimately we cross this for a couple of weeks and we do fall into a harsh, cold winter of a bear market. And it's hard having conviction. I'm just going to be real, like on a real, like me talking to you right now. It's hard having conviction. It really is, but you just have to look out and you just have to see how far we've came. We've had a great bull run so far. I'm not saying it's over. I am still here for this cycle, but I have to talk about reality. We've came a long way, but it's very, very hard in times like these because typically what happens is if maybe you're a 9 to 5 or watching this, and I know most of you guys are, you know, a lot of us, even me, we don't have like a lot of cash really to invest like consistently, or we don't want to keep putting money in because let's say we put in money last week, we put in some money and then it dumped, and then we put in more money the week before, and maybe the week before that, and we're constantly seeing our money go down. It's very fucking scary, man. But this is the cryptocurrency game, and if you're not prepared, crypto will literally eat you up and spit you and chew you and chuck you out. That's what cryptocurrency is. You chose cryptocurrency for a reason. I chose cryptocurrency for a reason because I believe it's the best asset class for the normal 9 to 5er to change their life. I don't believe you can get rich if you're a small player buying the S&P 500. I'm not interested in 10%. Maybe if I get multi-millionaire, yes, I'll put some cash in there. I've got some cash in some high savings accounts, but in my opinion, for you to really play catch up and really to escape, I guess you could say escape the matrix, like some people like to say, whatever you want to use the terminology there, this is the only market that we can really change our life if your job's not paying you enough. But we have to come to reality that the market is very volatile. And even all these good news, the market isn't really caring right now. So again, you have to have a hard look at yourself in the mirror and decide if this cryptocurrency game is for you. And if it's not, you can sell. It's absolutely fine. Like, I want you to do well. I want everybody to do well. But if you can't take it anymore, you should probably sell. Now, here's 3 scenarios that I can see, and really the kicker of this video. The first scenario, and a lot of people were talking about this back in January, now they're not really talking about it, but the first scenario, and I think this is, you know, medium kind of likely, I rate this a 5 out of 10 on potential, is we start to have a peak about maybe June, July. A lot of people were saying that, but now nobody's saying that. But that is still a potential. So we get a good run and we maybe go up to 140, 150K and we get an early cycle. Now, the second scenario, which is still what I'm playing, is the normal 4-year cycle. Again, depending on how well this 50 MA line respects Bitcoin's price. And that would give us a peak of October to December. That would historically make another successful bull run if you take profits. And it would historically make the 4-year cycle still in play. So e.g., we probably chill for a bit. We might still go down, but then in Q3, we really start to rise. And then October, November, December, we get that peak of if that's 125, 140, 150, depends on how much money comes into the game. And I would rate that a potential of 8 out of 10. That is my most predictable scenario. And that's been my scenario since 22 and 23 when I started to invest again heavily into this market. Now, the third scenario is, again, nobody wants to talk about this, but we have to talk about this. If we close 2 to 3 weeks below this yellow line, the 50-week moving average, that is when it's potentially, you know, pack up time for most of us, if we're being honest. I would rate this a 2 out of 10. I don't think this is going to happen, but if we cross below this, we have to be honest with ourselves, and it will be the time. So if we close below this for a couple of weeks, 3-4 weeks, absolute maximum, it will be bear market, and it will be time to say, okay, well, we fucked up again, but now we know how to take profits, because again, if you didn't take profits along here, we were being very, very too FOMO-ish. But again, I don't see this scenario playing out, but it is potentially possible or plausible if we do cross below this, because historically, this line has never been wrong. But again, I also have the caveat of the 4-year cycle historically in cryptocurrency hasn't been wrong. So again, it's kind of like, it's a difficult one. It really is a difficult one. But ultimately, there's nothing we can do if we go in a bear market. All we can do is say, hey, we had a good run. Maybe you bought the peak of January, you learned some lessons. Most people do lose money in the first, bull run, but that is reality. And hopefully we can come back and do this again, because ultimately Bitcoin is probably going to go to $1 million. The USD dollar value, GBP here in the UK, is ultimately going to go to zero in the longer term with inflation. And there's nothing better than buying Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. We were just probably a little bit too foolish. But again, I don't think that is going to happen. It just really depends on this 50-week moving average. Now, again, a lot of people are asking about Solana and Ethereum. I'll give you Solana real quick. Coins like Solana have a super fucking ugly chart. Let's just be honest. But in my opinion, this is extremely oversold. I've been buying Solana, as you guys know, about the 125 level to the 135 level. And I've been putting that in a platform called Orica, which I'm using for DeFi liquidity pools. And because I still believe we're in the 4-year cycle, what I've ultimately been able to do, instead of buying fresh Solana, I already had my Solana and I bought some more Solana at those levels. And then I put that in Orica and I'm getting free Solana every single day. So ultimately, whatever the price is, I'm still collecting Solana. So best case scenario, I make so much money in Solana because we do go into the next phase and Bitcoin starts to really go up. We get that 4-year cycle that we expect. And Solana with my DeFi liquidity pools, all the time that I've been accumulating Solana for free, I get to appreciate those as well. The worst case scenario, and it would kind of suck, I believe in Solana for the long term anyway. So the worst case scenario, let's talk about it. Solana, Bitcoin goes down. We do go in a bear market. My Solana portfolio gets absolute wrecked. But again, ultimately, I'm still accumulating free Solana for the next run. So again, I don't think Solana is going to go anywhere. That's why we only recommend you accumulating DeFi pools if you're using that as part of your strategy to get income every single month, every single day. You only want to do it in coins you believe in for future bull runs, or at least this bull run, because then it doesn't make sense. Now, the lowest I can see Solana going is about the 108 levels, just because that's where there's strong fucking demand here. You can see we wicked about 110, 108. If we break this, again, it just depends on what Bitcoin does. If we break this, then Solana really is going to have a hard time. But again, we wicked it recently and it bounced on the weekly. So again, it is showing stronger buy zones here. But again, we can't argue the Solana chart looks very ugly. But again, if you like Solana at $300, like I always say, you should fucking love it, $133, if you still believe the bull run is here to stay. Now, I need to talk about this. We don't usually talk about stocks, but this is probably the scariest chart in the whole of the cycle going forward. This is the S&P 500. So we guys, this is all the stocks put together. You guys know what the S&P 500 is. It's called the SPX. You can put this on TradingView. And again, I would track this going forward with the 50-week moving average. Now, the reason why I say it's the scariest chart going forward is the S&P literally bounced, and it's literally on the verge of this 50-week moving average. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm very fucking scared of this closing for a couple of weeks below this. We're literally right on it right now. And if this closes, again, 2 to kind of 4 weeks below this, that would be very time. Now, what we do have is in November, we closed below it for a week, and then we ultimately had the biggest green candle in the S&P 500. Remember, this is S&P 500. This doesn't go up 100x overnight. If this can do like a 20-30% overnight like it did here, even more than that, this is very fucking bullish. So again, back in November, October kind of times in 2023, we closed for 1 week, but then immediately we bounced back above it. So again, could we be having this scenario right here? I'm not sure yet, but if we do get a couple of weeks to 4 weeks maximum below this, this is when it might be time for cryptocurrency to kind of pack up shop, because if the S&P goes in a bear market, it's literally over for cryptocurrency. As this S&P 500 obviously has a huge impact on Bitcoin and our altcoins, because Bitcoin is obviously more on the riskier curve. And this typically, Bitcoin usually follows S&P 500, but obviously if you want more gains, you invest in Bitcoin, you rotate to Ethereum, you buy your altcoins, etc. But the S&P 500 is seen as a more risk-off asset compared to Bitcoin, but Bitcoin typically follows this. So again, super apprehensive about what happens. But I can't lie to you, if we cross this and we close below this for a month or so, it might be bear market scenarios. And I'm just being honest with you guys. I mean, that's just the reality of what we're going through right now. I don't want to make this a bearish video. I don't want to make this a bullish video. I just want to show you all scenarios going forward and what I'm personally doing and what you should probably have a look at. Not what you should be doing, what you should have a look at, looking at this 50-week moving average going forward. Now, I also just made a video, which I'll link right here. I made a video on my exit plan and my all scenarios of what we just talked about here, but in more detail. So if you want to see how I'll be selling on all the 3 scenarios in more detail that we just covered today, I'm going to leave this link on screen right now. You can go and check it out. This video here is going to talk about in more detail what we just covered today on talking about all 3 scenarios and how I'm going to be taking profits. If we go in a bear market, if we get an early blow off top, like May to kind of July time that people were saying in January, or ultimately if we still get that 4-year cycle, October to December. So click the video on screen right now. I'll see you over there. And I'd love to know your thoughts on how you're positioning your portfolio going forward. I'll see you in the comments. Peace, guys. Take care.